Here we go. All right. Alright guys, we're just loading it momentarily. And then we'll be good to go. What you see up on my screen is the old one. I'll actually close out that. Alright. We're just waiting right now for the mods team to finish up, and then we'll be good to go. Alright. I'm just waiting on them. We may be joined here. Oh, I think we will be. Potentially. Is that who I think it is? No. I mean, I am getting talked to by JJ. Alright. Just getting the export going right now. We'll be good to go momentarily. Alright. So I'm in a football playoff pool, and I'm just waiting to see what the spread is right now. I have the Redskins, or I mean the Washington football team, but alright, so I have to either win or lose by 8 or less. Oh, I'm going to get destroyed by the Bucks. Damn it, Brady getting me even after he's not a Patriot. Let's see. We're just getting the export all situated right now, and then we'll be good to go. So. We'll probably do A to Z today because we got some new teams. I need to fix the logos as we go. So we'll probably do A to Z, keep it nice and quick. Let's see. What do we got? Alright. Do you guys think the Washington football team has a shot? Because I really don't. By the way, apologies, but I'm about to resize some stuff because I'm getting the overlay going on OBS properly, so you might see some black space for a second. Sorry about that. Alright. There we go. Alright. I don't know if you guys saw him. Black space there. Alright, we're just got word export will be done momentarily. Yo, I hope they go. I hope that Alex Smith leads them on this great run. That being said, let's be realistic here. Chiefs probably going to win a championship. It's probably not going to be the Steelers. God, I had a coworker, lifelong Steelers fan, right? And the Steelers are 13-0, and he's telling me we're gonna finish the season 13-3, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. He's like, mark my words. We were going to finish the season 13-3, and then they lost 3 straight, and I was like, oh my God. He's like, I knew it. I was like, that is the best prediction I've ever heard. Like, you should have bet money on that. Like, nobody predicted that they would lose to, I think they lost to the Bengals, which are horrible without Burrow. So, yeah. All right. I think Juwan is uploading now. So, JJ actually sent me a message today. For those of you who don't know, JJ was a great, absolutely great GM of Utah, who kind of burnt out a few years ago and had some personal stuff, so he left. But he actually just messaged me, and maybe I can get him to come back. We'll see. But when we talk about all-time great ABA GMs, we talk about the Hughes, the JJs, the Damians, the Exandrews, to a lesser degree the Nikos and the G-Mans. The guys that just never miss the playoffs. But then you also got the GM of the Year guys, the only two guys that have ever won it multiple times. BB Kinney, check out RB96 for him, and Kevin. We've had some really great GMs in ABA history, but frankly, I think JJ might be one of the most underrated all time, because he only picked up, I think, 1 chip with the Utah Stars and LeBron. Now look at LeBron. He's having a great career, but not in Utah. So, JJ, come back and save your team, or better yet, come back and pick any team. Yeah. So. Let's see. Dude, what is this? I think there's 2 different JJs, and another JJ has now entered ABA and is in chat in the other server. Yep, that is so funny. Just 2 random JJs at the same time. Alright, that's cool. That's so funny. Alright. And that doesn't even include the mod JJB. That's just randomness. We got a JJB, a JJ, and a .jj. Not to be confused with 3J or JT. All different people. You guys gotta get more original with the naming conventions of children these days. We can't have so many people naming kids JJ. I mean, look at this. It's utter craziness. The Giants didn't make the playoffs because Ron Rivera is a really good coach. That team should not have been the best. That's, on paper, the worst team. That being said, the fact that the Giants were still competing, I think it bodes really well for them. I don't think Dan Jones is the option long-term for the Giants, though. So, either way, we should be momentarily good to go. I'm just checking on export. Yeah, without Barkley, they were pretty impressive. I'll give the Giants that. All right, we'll see. Should have export momentarily here. I might have to mute you guys for a second so I can run in and check on it. All right, so just talk to the guys that are doing it. We're looking at like literally 30 seconds. We'll be up and running. Let's go. This is hype. We got DD there, Fleecer's there. We got a little streaming party going. You guys check that out on the Discord. I imagine most people that are watching this right now are on the Discord, but if you aren't and you want to talk to people while you're doing this, we got a little watch party going. Maybe I should have like a little ad thing pop up. I don't know. On board here, maybe I can make one. Let's see. Oh, that just goes to black. Okay, don't do that. Could I go? All right. Let's see how this goes. And then I'm just going to casually move that to the bottom level here. And I can just now randomly bring the Discord message up. Right. Nope. I don't know what I'm doing, but that's okay. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing with this. I'm not like a streaming expert. I run webinars and such, but like super formal webinars, like different camera angles and such, not a problem. But you try and get me on here, we're doing live editing, not my strength. All right. Here we go. Picking up the export momentarily. Oh, and people were wondering who is coming out of retirement. That will be revealed at the end, but it's not like a megastar guy. Like, he's not a megastar anymore, but he was. Hint: Denver Conquistadors. See if you can figure it out. Utah. Yeah, this is just off the top of my head here. Think Dallas maybe at the end there. But he's probably going to be like a 45. So he's just going to add, if somebody's looking for a little thing off the bench, maybe a little two-way contract depth guy. He's going to be right under that caliber. But he's come back to win a ring, so better be a contender here. But we'll see. All right. If you guys have any theories, leave it in the comment section below. But I will if somebody guesses in the comments, I will let you guys know. But and your hints are 3 points. Utah, San Diego, and Dallas, and Denver, and OG, and steals. Those are the 2 categories I'll tell you to look at. So take a look and let me know what you think. No, it's a real ABA player. Though adding Vince Carter is a great idea for this draft class as a way to pay tribute to him. We should definitely add Vince Carter. So I will make sure to do that. I can't believe Vince didn't get a ring. If anyone in the NBA deserved it, it's Vince Carter. Here we go. Here we go. It's loading. And then I have to, of course, load it up. But we're looking like under 20 seconds here. Let's go. I'm excited. All right. Draft this year will probably be Vince Carter. Definitely going to have Vince. Probably want to have either Steph Curry or James Harden in it. Maybe both. And those will probably be the cream of the crop. I might potentially do all-time greatest slam dunkers in the draft, so we get Vince Carter and Nate Robinson. Alright. Just transporting the file over. Alright. Who would you guys like to see the most in the draft? Anyone in particular? Oh, it is not Calvin Lee. Somebody was proposing. No, it was not Calvin Lee. Though that would be really cool. His name was not... Calvin Lee's knee is just... He was a scrub at the end of his career. Nobody wants to see Calvin Lee come out of retirement. The dude was a scrub at the end. That being said, if I could ever convince Byron Powers to come out of retirement, I would do it in a heartbeat. Byron Powers was an absolute beast. I mean, alright, here we go. We got the export, so we're going to get right into this here. We're going to get right into this. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Let's do this. Progs time. Alright. Yes. Let's do this. Alright. So, my top 5 big off-season winners would definitely include Washington. I think they definitely won the off-season. But Milwaukee and London both had really good off-seasons. And Seattle had a really good off-season. So I kind of have them as my, like, primary group, so to speak. Alright, anyway, with that, let's get into this because we've all been waiting. We're just real quick. We'll go right down to multi-team mode here. Alright, we got every team listed. Are you guys ready? Everyone ready in the comments section? Tell me if you're ready. If you're ready, I'll get this thing started. Are you ready? If you guys are ready, then we will go. We're just waiting here. Waiting to see the readies. You know, I got that 10-second delay, so I'm just like waiting on the other side now. Okay, yeah, people are ready to go. Let's go. Let's do this. All right. So with that, boom, preseason time, and we have Progs. All right, real quick, first thing we're going to do, check the orders here. Now, as we go, I will have to grab logos and such. So please note, I will have to go out and go into the managed teams, and we'll do that. But we'll start A to Z. Alaska, you're up first, and your Progs are meh, to say the least. I mean, not a hardcore going down across the board. You lose a few role players, but they're expiring mostly. I mean, Barry Progs up. You have 3 really good guards. Small ball, I guess, but Lonzo's fairly tall for a guard, so... This team's got a really good guard situation going. Not much up front. You know, small ball has worked in the past in Cincy. They got cap room, though. They got roster spots. They'll be a big player in the free agency here. We'll see what goes on. Next up here, we go to Anaheim. The Anaheim Amigos. Good Progs among their starting groupage here. And some prospects with okay Progs. Reggie with the weirdest prog going up and down at the same time. But from a starting standpoint, you know, Nijis isn't going to be bad. Jason Morris could put up some big stats for them. I don't want to say these are bad progs because it isn't. Josh Wade going down is rough, but he's probably even a cut candidate at this point, especially being fairly old. You don't like seeing Shepard going down, but it's not too hard a loss. The worst thing here is Joe Cool going down 5 potential, I suppose. But this is just another meh Progs. Now we've seen 2 meh Progs to start off. We'll see if we can get 3. Atlanta, they actually get what I mean. These are good Progs. A lot of their starters progged well. That being said, they're still really thin, just generally across the board. They don't have any really high quality players. Maybe Dallas Foy, but they have a lot of cap room. They're under the cap limit, and they only have 4 roster spots open. So they have a lot of things that they could do. Another big potential in things that they could do this offseason. So, or this free agency. So we'll see what they do. Taking a look at Beijing. Wow. All right. So the first Prog winner here is Beijing for sure. Mo Lewis. Yeah, he's getting that nickname. In case you guys aren't aware. Actually, here we go. Mars Lewis. I believe Mo Lewis was, when I was a kid, I used to call him Mars Lewis. Yeah, he just ended Drew Bledsoe's career with a hit, punctured his lung. But anyway, random football knowledge for you. Patriots fan though, so what can you expect? Mikan going up, T-Mac going up. This might be a great team in the West with a lot of young guys now, trade assets that they could move, and a potential future star going up plus 15. We'll see. But a lot of potential for this team. These were the Progs that they were hoping for. Unfortunately, Chauncey, while he's now living up to his contract, is also about to hit free agency. So we'll see what goes on there. But, they made a good move in Mikan. This is a solid team. So the sky's really the limit this season. They could potentially be a deep playoff team. Belgrade, they had some really solid Progs, though in general their potential of their starters to decline. These are definitely not bad Progs for them. Jake Brown even progging up a substantial amount. If I'm them, I'm pretty happy with this. It's not ideal, but it's far from bad. We'll see what they make to move, but they're definitely a playoff contender this season. That being said, it is worth noting they may have 2 really rough contracts in their starting lineup. They might have Kansas City themselves to where they're going to have a really good team around Anthony Stewart, but they're a little small. Big Z's going to put up a lot of rebounds, but he's not quite there yet. I almost want to say they're in a similar position to where the 76ers were a couple years ago. They have a great team, but I don't know if they're quite over the hump yet, and I don't know if they have any real way to get themselves there, but we'll see. An injury in the playoffs can always propel a team much further, and this team has basically 5 60s in their starting lineup, so they're deep. Bosnia, they're in a rebuilding stage. They moved 40. They have most of their roster filled, and yet their team rating is literally 0. Tyler O'Grady, not the Prog you wanted to see, going down 7 potential. Not quite a bad contract yet. Give him another year, see how he develops. Guillen, also, you can give him another year. Those guys were supposed to be their dynamic duo, both going down. Thomas Robinson, high pick in the draft, also going down. This was really rough offseason for Irfan. We'll see what he can do to pivot. He's a good GM with a lot of cap space, flexibility, and definitely assets galore. So we'll see what he decides to do here. All right. Next up here is Boston. Boston with what can only be described as great Progs for their starters and win now possibilities. They got some cap space too to go after somebody, but you'll notice they really don't got much up front. Ty Hoffer will be pretty valuable for them this season. He's a good offensive big man, and he added some defensive game here. Mike Dowling did go down big time, but I think he's still worth that contract, especially with that potential, so I'm not too worried about them there. It's a little disappointing that the first big free agent we've seen went down. Also, maybe after several rough seasons for Oakham, maybe he will finally be able to come through in a big way for this team that we saw when he was with New Jersey. All right, next up here, Carolina Cougars. Their big move, Patrick Sullivan. Does he pay off? Honestly, I think it's a very good contract for them and for him. As a result, they have a very solid team and definitely are an upper tier lock into the playoffs now. Potentially is like a 6th or 7th seed, which is middle tier in ABA because we have 50 teams. That being said, they don't have a ton of trade assets, nor do they have a superstar. They are, however, one superstar away from being a really great team, and with quite a few expiring deals this season. You'll like literally their entire all of their questionable contracts are expiring. They'll be left with a solid team after the season, and be able to then add a superstar really easily. So they're a team that could look for something like what happened with Washington this year. You make the playoffs, you win a couple series, you build that big momentum. You have a lot of expiring contracts, but the core of your team is still there. You can go out and grab somebody in free agency or in a trade, and now all of a sudden you're a contender. Take a look at how that worked out for the Clippers. I mean, in real life, it didn't work out as well as it should have for the Clippers because Kawhi is Kawhi, but in theory, they could have been really great, and they're now in the strong position. It's worked out well for the Nets, too, for example. All right. With that, we will now take a look at the next team, Charlotte. Wow. All right. Alex Moore goes up big time. Rex Patton, he's become a legit superstar now. Kevin Martin goes up again. Mason Sparks up again. Gordon Hayward up big time. Huge prog from Michael Guillen. The Guillens all now becoming fairly relevant at some point in their career. Darrell Hunter goes up. Perro goes up. Matt Ducey goes up. Only Jeremy Walker goes down. They have him on a fairly affordable 1-year deal. They're a contender. Like a true contender. And with so many assets, they could use another big man because Kevin Martin's way undersized for a power forward. I think he's 6'4", 6'5", or 6'7". Still significantly undersized. Only grabbed 6 boards a game last season. And Mason Sparks is really great, but he's not a true single big man. That being said, this could be a really strong year for the team. Rex Patton could be great. Just take a look and see if we have to... Oh, we do have the small nerf for Alex Moore here. We'll take a look and see if that hurts him too much here. Unfortunately, we do have the cap hit of 80. So we'll see. Oh, he still goes up. So they still had a great offseason. As a whole, a big win for Charlotte. With a lot of cap room, they could do some big things this season. All right. Chicago now taking a look. Joe Caron goes down. Josh Gale goes up. They're a really solid team built around those two caps. I like both of them as really good two-way players. And their depth is really solid just across the board. This is a very good two-way team. I really like how GM Juan has gone from a team that was very much built around 2 individual stars and with no big men to now being probably one of the best defensive teams in the league in a very short time. And it's just a product of good GMing. So we'll take a look and see, have either of them gone over... nope. And we got 2 OAQ that we got shaved, but that should be minimal effect, if anything, on Gale. Yeah, very small effect on Gale. He does go down overall, but it shouldn't really affect him that much. Next up here, Cincinnati Royals, the small ball city. Maybe a return to small ball. Anthony Vort going down big time after last season's fluky year. The serious decline of Billy Bogues, but I think he's a high-volume player. These are not the Progs Cincinnati wanted, but the contending window is still open. While it is much smaller than it was just a season ago, it is still open for them. We'll see what they do this offseason. They're probably glad they got Dawson Miller fairly affordably because he did go down, and a lot of their bench went down. They'll have to make moves. Billy's a good GM here, though, and I definitely look for him to capitalize on moving some of those veterans off the bench. And trying to pick up a potentially, I almost want to say a return to small ball makes sense here, as really TJ should be your starting center, move on from Vort, maybe make him a backup. I know he's a fan favorite, but we'll see what goes on there. All right, that brings us to the next team, Cleveland, the longtime cursed team. YBP says, don't tell anyone, as he types in Gen Chat, but I think this team could go further than they could. That is right. It definitely could. And you see why? Rob Archer goes up pretty substantially. This team has a lot of solid young players. Reed Phelps is probably the only really long-tenured person on this team. They got good progs from the guys they want to prog up, and they have expiring contracts on solid role players. If the team overperforms, they're going to be one of those teams that can look at free agency. In addition, Dries and Bill Russell, they can take a look at those two guys and say, hey, they might be expiring. That doesn't mean I have to get rid of them. because both those players, you have a 3-point specialist. That is always a great role off the bench. Always high PER at old ages. Bill Russell, great defensive player. Centers don't age great, but he could still be a potential great defensive player off the bench next season for them if they choose to retain him. So we'll see what goes on there. Great progs all around for them, though, because all the players they wanted to prog well, progged well. I mean, I guess Fabian McKnight's prog is pretty bad, but that's about it. Next up here, Dallas Chaparrals. Wow. Their starting lineup got hit hard. Oh my god. Coronavirus has died. Like, he's absolutely trash now. Steve Clarkson and Kyle Henson, both great. Spencer Smith, solid. Clifton Winters, great. I guess these are the progs you want to see if you're them. They're like in a middle tier team, and like, frankly, making the playoffs probably looking a little bit more on the difficult side. I thought they made a lot of steps good in the offseason, but these are not the progs they're looking for. In terms of guys they're going to have to cut, they're going to have to cut 3. They have a choice. Maybe they cut bait with these guys and free up that cap, but maybe they also cut Corone. I hate to say it, it's very possible. We'll see. All right, next here, Denver. Jalen Weir going up big time. Kevin up sizable. We'll check see if he's not even close to either of the max outs. Spider goes up as well. D.D. Savage, Hopkins. He does hit pretty hard with the 7 that he'll lose in DIQ. Let's see how hard that hits him. Oh, it does hurt, but Denver's in a good spot. They're going to be one of the best teams in the West, especially when Spider comes back. The defense between Spider, Hopkins, Kevin's not bad on D. Weir's also a really great defensive player. DD, former all-defensive team, if I recall. I don't know why Sidney Dean, he's 6'4". Why is he a center? I guess he averaged 9 rebounds several years ago on a tiny Charlotte team. He has 60 height too. That's the weirdest design player. But anyway, looking off of their bench, Candace Parker goes down pretty sizably. That's a little disappointing for them. But these are great progs as a whole. Jamie Spencer going down big time. Arthur going down big time as well. We'll see what they do. All right. Detroit. David Manning goes up. Jonathan Jean, he is now a superstar, an expiring superstar. He's going to get a max deal from someone. They do have the cap potentially to make a move to keep him, though. Thor Hooks Jr. goes down, but efforts that goes up as he expires. They got a lot of potential big men off the bench, too. Alex Jackson and Alex Jackson. Wait. 6'8" and 7 foot. One was... Were they both rookies last year? Nope. That's so random. They have 2 Alex Jacksons, both 22. One was a storyline player that came from like 4 years ago. And the other is just a random auto-gen Alex. The only difference is a nickname. What are the odds? That is just random. Richard Wright went down hard. That's rough. That's now a bad contract. That's unfortunate. Willie Wright also goes down pretty bad. But honestly, the fact that this team now has 2 true superstars makes their progs a win. They have 2 well over 70 players now. And Epithet, that is a tongue twister. He is probably going to be a starter by the end of the season. Because that PER is going to be insane. And you want to see what you get when you have a guy that's got 66 potential like him, especially the former storyline guy. So we'll see what they do. The Flint Tropics. Tang A. Joey goes up big time. He is basically a star in the making. I wish I could pronounce that name. I really do. It is the weirdest auto-gen name I have ever seen. I would love to know where DM found that name, because it is random. But I digress. This man is going to be a sniper this season. 99 from 3. He's a rookie. Those stats almost never go down. 100 from 3 throw. He's a rookie. He is a rookie on 100 and 100 basically. This man is going to set the all-time record for free throws made. He is going to be a superstar. He will probably win Rookie of the Year. He was the 17th pick in the draft by Flint. They have a 4-year title contending window because of how high he is going to produce. He can already be a number 2 star on a championship team. We'll see what he does, but that is legitimately what I think he could be for them. In terms of the rest of the progs, not great, but it really doesn't matter when you get a god prog like that for a potential superstar on a rookie deal. Hawaii Hurricanes. Nick Jacobs becomes the true second star penetrator who is back, always wanted, with co-star Maurice Stokes. In case you guys don't know, Maurice Stokes actually really great historical basketball player. They thought he was going to be absolutely great. Then during a game for the Cincinnati Royals, the dude hit his head, and he fell on his head in a weird way, and it caused him to pass out for several minutes. Well, back then they didn't know how severe head injuries could be, so they were flying him back, and he actually had a stroke and became paralyzed for years. One of his former teammates would take care of him and such, but he ended up dying fairly young, if I recall, as well. But we're going to see the full legacy of Stokes, hopefully, here. He'll enter free agency, and this team is probably the favorite in the West. Penetrator comes back. Skarn not down. Like, at this level, he still puts up great stats. We saw how good a season Skarn had last year with 24, 9.7, and 4.9. He's one of the best players for their team, and they're in a great position. They have a lot of depth, a lot of quality, experienced depth. This might be one of the weirdest. 55, 61, 22. That seems like his potential is really low. Either way, G-Man could potentially be a GM of the Year candidate just for bringing back the penetrator. All right, next up here, Jacksonville. Jacksonville added Jordan Jamison, Boban, Otis, Drew Armstrong, and George Carter, and George King. All of them don't have bad progs. They're going to be better than they were last year. Probably not quite make the playoffs. We'll see. Otis going up gives him one of the most valuable deals in the league now. Definitely a great trade asset. He's only 25, and he can be a great role player for 4 or 5 years on an affordable deal. So, Boban, meanwhile, might be a little overpaid, but I kind of think he's going to put up some crazy stats because Wilt was putting up great stats for them. And Ben Darling will continue to add to his 3-point and free throw god tier levels. 39% career shooter from 3. Phenomenal player. 90% free throw. Check out RBC if you already haven't. I have personally not GM'd there very long, but Ben is a great member of ABA and definitely deserves some love to his league. So check that out. Next up here, Kansas City. Alright. Well, the Warner Prog is rough. They have cap space to maybe go out and get someone, but I don't really know if you want to blow it up again because this rebuild is already starting to sour a little bit. McNamara is a great contract, though, so maybe you don't want to spoil that and you can move him for a lot of value. McNamara has proved to be a quality player, one of the most underrated players in ABA history. He's never made an all-star team. There's been a few years where I've been like, he's probably one of the best players on a really great team. He's actually had the luxury of almost always playing on teams where he's been great, but they just quite haven't gone over the hump. But they've been one of the best teams to miss the playoffs. So he just doesn't quite get the respect I think he deserves. But you saw him have some really great years with Charlotte in the past as well. So next up here, Kentucky Colonels. E.J. Peterson goes up a little bit. We'll have to take a look at the IQs here. E.J. Peterson's IQs are fine. We'll take a look at Axel's IQs. They are both going to go down. We may see Axel under 80 for the first time in a couple of seasons here. It's going to be close. He hits 79. Axel's under 80. He is now 79. All right. That being said, this team is still going to be one of the best teams in the East. They're going to be up there with Detroit. Jacob Owens goes down after a huge playoffs. Owens was hot in the playoffs. Like, he was back to like 3 or 4 years ago, Owens. That being said, they have a lot of big names, but I think this is going to be a rough season for them. We'll see what they do. Or a disappointing season. Not rough. Disappointing. Because I think E.J. Peterson and Axel Blaze are a true dynamic duo. But I do think that this is going to be a disappointing season for a team that probably will be a top 3 seed in the East. Taking a look at Las Vegas here. Lots of cap to work with. Still got roster spots to fill. Of course, Noel leaving the team after suffering major injuries. Team will move on to Mark Vassar, who looked pretty okay as a substitute. But in reality, Cat is a shell of what he used to be. Austin Warner going down 5, that's a massive loss. It's time to rebuild. I don't know if you can trade Warner for much value, but if there is a market for him, I would take advantage of it. But I don't know who's looking for a scoring big man on a bad contract. That's like a 76ers type move. Like, he's like Al Horford right now. But we'll see what goes on there. All right, next up here is the London Towers, the first new team. You'll check out the logo here. And the first team in London. They had what I thought was a strong free agency, but Progs did not give this team a break. That being said, they're not a particularly bad tanking team, and they have a star and some depth. We'll see what they do. They could definitely use getting a scorer on the team. We'll see if they do that. Defensively, Karai Jackson, Kotov, McDowell, all are pretty solid defenders. So there's that. Seth Ginn used to be one of the best defensive players in the ABA. Jameis Noel, I think, made an all-defensive team I've seen. So we'll see what goes on there. Los Angeles Defenders, they lost Light. Who's going to step up? The answer is this random dude named Sean Darby. I'm going to give him a nickname, and maybe people will take it. Maybe people won't. But I think he's Light too. Because I don't think he's Light, but I think he's going to be the next best thing in LAD. And I think they're actually going to overperform expectations. They got some cap to work with. They lost some guys, but these aren't horrible Progs for their depth or their new stars. And their veterans stick around, which was part of the concern here. While they're a little on the older side, they could definitely overperform, and I don't think their contract status is going to be too bad, since they'll likely retain a lot of their quality defensive starters for fairly cheap contracts in the offseason. We'll see. Next up here, Melbourne. David McGillen goes up. That is all you guys need to know. They had good Progs. David McGillen went up. They're good. They're going to be a contender. What can I say? David McGillen's the ABA's GOAT. With his continuing declining supporting cast once again, Josh will have to finally make moves to keep this team as a contender. But once again, we look at McGillen. You know, he hasn't put up 40 points in a while. He could use another 40-point season. It's been a while, you know. He might be on the decline. Yeah, this is the greatest player in ABA history, ladies and gentlemen. At age 30, he is going up and potentially on average the most points of his career. At 30, when he should be going down. And he's that good. Mexico City time. Bruno Kendrick goes down. Homer Simpson also goes down. And the supporting cast goes down as well. They need to make some moves. They're quickly watching their championship window of their quote-unquote big three that I thought had a lot of legs. They're watching it go away. They have some trade assets. There's probably some good free agents. We'll take a look at those in 1 second here. Yeah, we'll see what they do. But they definitely need to make a move. They could use a power forward. They could use really some depth as well. So looking at the free agents here, Wolfenbarger, who I may have to treat as abandoned. Mackey, those are pretty solid too. Christian Robbins, pretty good as well. All of those should be pretty big contracts. You got some role-playing three-point shooters. A.O. McKinney's not too far down there for contenders that are looking for a guy that can play defense and score. Ryan Bing could be a popular option for rebuilding teams. Ramian could potentially be looking for a job as a starting point guard on a contender. We'll see where he ends up going. Sebastian Telfair Jr. also could potentially land a big contract out of this. Now, let's take a look here at potential. LaRon Martin goes up substantially. Phil Mincy has value as a potential quality power forward. Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there. Going to give this guy's got to get a nickname. Anytime I see Datomes, I always want to reference the Datome that's on the Pistons or was on the Pistons. He's an absolute beast in one of the 2K games I played because he can hit threes. That's about it. He's just a role player. Not even a role player. He's a scrub. But I thought he had a lot of potential at one point. Taking a look at Miami here. Good Progs. Their bench got killed. They're probably a playoff team, but it's going to be close this season. They lost a lot of prospects quality-wise. It might be big rebuild season, but they have, unfortunately, their former, what could have been a great team, just declining. They didn't land Axel. If they had landed Axel, maybe they'd be great, but not quite there this season. So, Milwaukee. They are now Milwaukee, so that's the first logo I need to change here. Milwaukee Hawks. Alright, so this is Milwaukee Hawks time. Is that the transparent one? This is the transparent one. Milwaukee Hawks was the first team we saw that had a logo problem. That's cool. We'll have to redo the conferences as well. I'll probably do that at the end of the live stream here for those of you that want to check those out. Alright, Milwaukee Hawks. Adam McGillen represents the Milwaukee Hawks. He doesn't go down. He doesn't go up like his brother, but he is the Eli Manning. Well, maybe, because he doesn't have a ring yet. But, hey, maybe he'll get one. Gornax looks really good. His team adds Flora to a great contract now. Ziegler to a solid contract. And Damian Fadev is effective. They're big, too. This is a big athletic team, because Ziegler is a big, small forward. And he's going to be playing shooting guard for them, with Flora playing small forward, McGillen probably playing center or power forward, and Novak, who's a three-point shooter. That is a huge five. Like, physically massive. Their smallest player is 6'9", I believe. Like, honestly, if I'm them, I take a look at this team right now, and I'm like, all right, let's assign those guys to positions and fill in the bench. They're the tallest team I've ever seen. Like, I think Ziegler's their smallest starter. Okay, 6'7", but he's a big shooting guard. And they have Damian Fadev, who's 6'9". The 6'11" Novak, that's insane. Flora's 6'10". McGillen is, what, 6'11"? Wow. Smallest starter at 6'7". That's insane. All right. Next up here. Actually, I should probably look at that team's actual things. Oh, yeah, they had good progs across the board. I didn't even mention they had 3 really great progs off the bench, too. That's great. Minnesota. So, they get a new GM, Jay Feike. Jay Kumar goes down substantially. Wally Craig goes up. We'll see how much he goes up after I adjust his DIQ, but he's going to be a two-way superstar. With J.D. Bell as well, this is a solid team. Like, really solid. Wow. Like, the dynasty continues? Like, they have $60 million in cap. Vikings should be able to win a championship here. They're going to be one of the favorites in the West they're probably going to be against Hawaii in the conference finals, at least. We'll see. Maybe Seattle can beat them. Speaking of the other contenders, let's look at Montreal. Time to blow it up, Mysterio. Your core is declining. This is not the core it was just a couple years ago. Blow it up. Move Hawkins. Move LeBron and build around the young guys. Like, you don't have, I don't think, the cap to add enough core, and with LeBron going down and not enough great progs, I mean, you got a lot of assets, but just not enough quality starters, especially from the guard standpoint. Like, next to no guards. We'll see what they do. New Jersey. Bill Walton becomes a star, maybe? Maybe they make the playoffs this year. Last year was pretty rough for them, but, they got some really solid value on their team, and while their depth could be better, they are a star away from being a true contention team. I think they could potentially overperform, and honestly, if I'm them, I would move David. Hear me out. Las Vegas should send Austin Warner to New Jersey straight up for David and a second round pick. Seriously. I think that if they did that, we would be looking at New Jersey as a contending team. this season, I think that they would be good enough. At least their starting team, if they did that one small swap. Like, deep playoff. Like a 63 or something rating, we'll see. That's just my guess. New York, we see Progs, so their logo is wrong. Ainsley sent me their logo, so I need to get that from him. It's a cool here we go. So, New York. But they just had phenomenal progs. Alright. There we go. Alright. They are in a great position now. Wow. Bosnia was waiting on 40, and he finally popped after they traded him. It's probably his lowest value of his career so far. I mean, they were afraid he could potentially go down to being just a quality good starter in a year or two. Like, he had started to show serious regression and stagnation right at the worst time, right before he would have established his real superstardom. But now, he's probably a superstar. And him and Rudolph are young. They have a legitimate duo. Magic Birds goes up as a really quality role-playing fit for them. Like, legitimately high quality. I think I do have to knock off his IQ, which is unfortunate, and he doesn't deserve it, because that's actually going to hurt him a lot more. He's still good progs, but not great progs that he had. That's disappointing. I hate doing that. I'm sorry, dude. Give me an F in chat. An F in chat for him. We get an F in the chat here. That's just miserable. Damn. Alright. Alright. This was a great team. This is in a really strong spot now. Dude. Magic's Bird. Oh, I'm so sorry, man. Damn. He had good progs till then. But either way, this is going to be a fun team this season. They have a true dynamic duo now. We might be seeing GM of the Year from Ainsley. Legit. Paris. Mark Price. That's the only good prog on their team. That's so unfortunate. That's such a bad contract. Oh, that is untradeable. Oh my god, I've never seen a contract so bad. 4 more years after this season. $40 million for a 52-54. 2 years of disaster progs after a max contract. Oh, can we please get an F for Goose? Just an So just responding to a question, chat. People asking why we have an IQ cap, and the reason is because you also get cap points. So there needs to be a give and take. There needs to be a downside for a cap because they're already getting the points and progs because everyone loves progs. So the downside is you'll never be able to have a truly like god tier cap. They have a floor because they cannot have 20 in either of those things. In addition, you'll also never see a unbelievably highly efficient one because they aren't able to boost their IQ to 100. That's how they're able to dominate some other leagues, is because IQ can cause stats to get super wonky. For example, you only take wide open threes, logically speaking, if you have an 100 IQ 3-point shooter. So if he has a 25 rating, he'll never shoot a 3. And it, as a result, will make the percentages higher. just across the board. So higher assists would become almost 0 turnovers. So, yeah. Oh, Magic's abandoned. I don't know. We'll have to talk to Axel about that because I don't know if Magic's abandoned. We'll talk to Axel and we'll get it sorted out. But either way, Goose had the worst. He had, ironically, mediocre progs. But this is a situation where Prince Smith has such a high contract. You would rather have those bad progs on literally anyone else because now he just can't even move them. And the worst thing is Cherokee Jack was supposed to be his co-star and he's also in the tank. Like, oh my god. What are the mathematical odds of that? The worst 2 contracts in the league are on one team. Through no fault of their own. They weren't bad contracts when they signed them. Alright. Next up here is the Philadelphia Warriors. I actually went to have to pick a logo here. I suppose a generic Philadelphia logo would be that, right? Oh. Yeah, I think this is... I mean, does somebody want to see if they can find a good Philadelphia logo? This is why I didn't want to look it up. This was their logo. That's not even a sports logo. That's literally the only logo I've never wanted to not use. I guess we could just stick with the Warriors logo. Because that's kind of just open to interpretation of what city it is. Let's see. Oh, here's a cool retro one I had not seen before. There we go. That's cool. What do you guys think? That an okay logo? Philadelphia Warriors. I think that's the one I'm wanting to do. It looks retro, but it also isn't absolutely horrible and kind of maybe possibly racist. That's the only way I know how to describe it. It's, yeah. Alright. With that, we'll take a look at their team. Boston, fine. Hamilton, fine. Barber, fine, I guess. Those are the negatives. Eric Jarvis. The Butler. Not a reference to the movie, which is phenomenal and you guys should check out, by the way, but a reference to Iron Man. So, yeah, I'm a geek. Honestly, this is just one of the best non-playoff teams. Maybe they overperform and make the playoffs, or maybe they get a star and make the playoffs, but they have so many tough contracts. Austin Hamilton might be one of the worst contracts in the league. Morgan Barber is not great, but he's expiring, fortunately. So they could move him. They could be another team that would go out and get a guy like Austin Warner. They could trade Morgan Barber for Austin Warner or Austin Hamilton. Yeah, either I think would make sense as a straight-up deal and be in a decent spot. We'll see if they do anything. Next up here is Pittsburgh. They're rebuilding. They're going to add a few more players to fill out their roster, but I would rebuild. I can see why they would want to contend if they they can add 2 decent players and then 2 scrubs, so they can have 4 more guys. You're probably adding guards, right? They definitely need depth in the backcourt, but they don't even have much up front either. Irfan probably will play a lot of minutes. They're glad they signed him to that 1-year deal because they want to sign him to a 4-year deal, but he took a 1-year deal. That's going to bite him in the butt, but I think he's going to be a high PER player for them, so we'll see. Providence here. Wow. Rough Progs. They got hit hard, but they're going to be another one of those top-tier non-playoff teams. We'll see if they make any moves. But they probably should sell assets if I'm Ricky. But they could enjoy a nice, peaceful, just coast as like a just out of playoff reach team if they don't want to like truly tank for a couple seasons and then just slowly decrease. But I feel like in situations like this, you want to blow it up. Rio de Janeiro. Tanner goes down. Billy Hole goes down. You don't like to see it after a really overproductive season from them. A lot of their core guys go down. Jaeger goes down. These are just not the greatest Progs. Cameron Violet's doing well in every test sim I've done recently. Like, that's just random. San Diego. Ouch. They're just meh Progs. A lot of the quality role players went down. They didn't have any real stars. Jordan Williams has become a really great player, so there's that. And I don't have to edit him. That's cool, too. He might be an all-star this year. We'll see. One of my favorite caps because he's like borderline all-star, super active. It's really cool to see. All right, taking a look at Seattle. Dante Robinson does continue to go up. He only has 81 potential now, but he has not had a bad prog yet. We shall see. Rob Moon continues to go up. Isaiah Thomas goes down a little bit. They're a contender in the West. They're probably like the third or fourth best team I've seen so far in the West. We'll see how they do. But the era is coming, and Bacon Maker, who is absolutely phenomenal last season, a huge breakout player for them. Unexpected. They have a true dynamic duo. Potentially, I would actually, if I'm them, I almost want to say start Bacon Maker at shooting guard, if you can play it defensively, and run a big team. Aside from him. So you have the two small guards, but then you have Jolly Green, Rob Moon, and Wilt. He'd make up for it. Oh, and you got Dante. You have to fit Dante. So they're going to be a small team if they do that. Really small. Because Rob Moon and Dante really can't play together. Unless you want Dante at the 4. I guess you could put Dante at the 4, but he's definitely more of a 3, in my opinion. But we'll see. Alright, that brings us to Singapore. Colton Nicholas goes up. TJ Manners goes up. While Fox does go down, and Reiki goes down. These are good Progs. They're going to be one of the better teams in the West, and they have some flexibility and active GM. Look for them to potentially move up pretty high. Let's see. Snohomish. Cottrell goes down. Or Cottrell goes up. Everyone else goes down. Rebuild time? I don't think so. I think you could salvage this. They have so much cap room to move. But it's going to be tough. We'll see. Syracuse. Rough. Stagnation right at the border of the playoffs. They might be able to make a run up this season. We'll see. Tampa Bay. Big and Chunky goes up. John Lee continues to disappoint. He could have been such a star. BB Kinney goes up, but he might be a candidate for... Nope. BB Kinney escapes it. BB Kinney is so disappointing. I'm just saying, statistically speaking, the dude has just always been a disappointment. Like, he had such a high overall, but he puts up such meh stats. He's not even, great at any one thing. It's weird. Alright, Big and Chunky, meanwhile, he's also good. Big and Chunky could be a low-key MVP candidate this season. I don't think he'll be able to beat out McGillen, but they should be one of the top teams in the East, despite meh Progs. Also, Kane Neal's going to be a potential pretty big role player on this really solid team, so we'll see. Also, signs of life from Andre Curtis as he enters free agency, or is he going to be one of the biggest busts in league history? Seriously, dude has not yet played well for an entire season, and even in his first season when he was competent, he still struggled mightily and didn't really make the mark in a lot of minutes. So he might go down as a forever bust. All right. Tijuana. Jaron Cruz. Wow. They actually got pretty solid Progs from a lot of their young guys. and gals. Um, Tijuana's not a bad spot once again. Maybe they'll move a few of their role players from their last run and potentially pick up a big star this season. They could definitely be a team looking for a star because they are going to be able to contend with this really solid team, especially when you have a prospect like Small Dog Robinson and Tamika Couchings as potential really good quality assets. So we'll see what they do. Toronto. I'm actually kind of glad Chris Paul went down because I didn't want another superstar guard. I feel like all the stars are superstar guards. Mount Vasilis Benaku, that's pretty cool. They got some good progs. Toronto's probably a playoff team. Don't think they'll make a deep run this year. Clarence Matthews progged up, which is fine, but Guillen went down. They're going to be good, but not great. Next up here is Utah. They added some role players to an aging team. They'll keep Gilgy alive, but they're not really much more than barely a playoff team. Next up is Vancouver, as we are nearing the end here. Steve Uma goes up. Ray Gribb, Jar Jar. Yeah, they're good. They're once again back at. They just need one part, and they'll be a deep contender. They could add a lot of depth. They have cap room. Gino is around. We'll see what goes on. All right, Virginia. They're in a good spot. Frankly, I think they're in a really underrated spot. They're clearly rebuilding, but compared to where this team was just a season ago, they're seeing a ton more activity. I think this is the one we were going to do. Oh no, this was. No, I think it was the top one. I don't really remember. No, it was definitely this one because this is the colors that they wanted. Well, one more team left after this. And then we just got to do all the conferences, which is going to be a bit. All right. Washington. They are one of the most hyped teams in the East. I think they're going to be the winner of the East, and they'll end up losing in the finals. I think this is a great year for them. Light does go down, so he might not be the superstar that people thought he might be, but their role players that they got around him, they all go up. This is going to be a great year for this team. KG also goes up. I'm excited. All right. So with that, guys, we're going to do the power rankings real quick. And you'll see Kentucky at number 1. So we'll highlight the Eastern Conference teams. Look at how well dispersed it is now. Oh, wow. I missed Tampa Bay entirely. That changes everything. They actually dominate the top now. The East is the deep conference now in theory. Oh, we'll see how it plays out. But Kentucky is probably going to be great with Charlotte, Detroit, Washington. I even think down to Tampa. Down to Tampa, there is like 8 true contenders this season. So with that, we will go to. Let's see. Division. All right. Do these make sense? Yeah, I think the New York team should be there probably more than Virginia, though. So, let me pull up a sticky note real quick. Virginia to oh, this is where I wish Goose was here. Whew. I'm gonna have to. This is gonna be complex. Divisions will be out shortly. I'm gonna export this, guys, and I'll get working on divisions. This is going to be a bit. But anyway, thanks for joining for ABA Progs. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll get divisions figured out before the sim. Wow.